Today is September 5th, 2022. It is Labor Day for North America. That's what's on the calendar for a holiday. However, in New York City, they're celebrating something they have marked as West Indian Day Parade. They're also proclaiming it's Juvet. Now, I read Juvet en français, jus, and vert. Now, in Haitian Creole, mwem vet, that means I'm closed. The other one says I'm open, and vert is green, en anglais, in English. So now I am watching this, that they are, now, when they say mwem vet, so you'll be closed when you're open or when you are vet. Now, vet is in veteran? Je ne sais pas, non so. And the humans in the English classes that I've been to in North America since I arrived in from natural born citizen from my mother who gave birth here, I am confused by this. It says I'm open, Juvet. That is not what the celebrants are saying. They are saying it is their celebration of freedom from slavery. So in Italiano, l'opera, in opera, en français, ouvrez. This is an interesting concept when I sit here alone in trying to figure out what messages some of the locals are. I'm happy to report, as the mayor says, that overnight, even though this occasion has in the past been marked with some violence, they were able to come together and not have violence. I'm very proud of that fact. Since there's a lot of uniformed officers that are out and about and they like to go home to their families. And the participants like to have this day in some fashion. Now, I'm wondering how Juve and this US Open with Serena Williams in some Arthur Ashe Stadium, which happens to be located in Queens, and I have no idea how it got named so, how it got opened, who funded it. Now, was that taxpayers' dollars? Was that some donation? Because again, there's this thing going on in the great beyond that seems to be affecting the residents on the interior of New York and other places that does not seem to be being spoken of quite so honestly. And I'm having to try to pick through this by myself with several class dictionary and watching Pictionary going on without. And then, of course, there's the real life thrill, like trauma. It's really a trauma that I've encountered, not necessarily, but I'm just trying to look for clues of who was in the same vicinity as when trauma occurred and what could have been going on and how did a crazy donkey get introduced into the situation. I saw on Game of Thrones somebody used some symbology of making this hypothetical character of Jason Lannister a lord in whatever's going on in on français Renee, but Renata. Renata is what they keep calling, although they pronounce it different, but whatever, on Reborn, for the incarnate. So this is what they have as this. They'll be clothed. They're open. I don't know what that message means. But it's interesting. So this says West Indian Day Parade. It's the local news.
The party's been going strong in Brooklyn for several hours now. The West Indian American Day Parade is back in full force following a pandemic break. We saw large crowds early this morning for Juve. I think they started the partying at around midnight, so that's several hours. And then just an hour ago, the main event was scheduled to begin, and I'm told it started without a problem. Eyewitness News reporter Stefan Kim is live along the parade route in Prospect Heights. Nice to see you, Stefan.
Well, Charlene, if the beach isn't your thing and you're heading home early, you can always come out here because if it's Labor Day in the city, there are steel drums banging away in Brooklyn. After a 2-year break, the West Indian Day Parade is back.
Thank you so much. Proud to live here. I'm proud to live here.
It is the city's proudest, fullest display of West Indian culture, and it's loud, colorful, and spicy. After Juve festivities bump through the night, proud Caribbean culture is popping off in Brooklyn today. This morning, parade goers lined the route, waiting for the parade to march on through. Crowds started gathering before dawn.
Now, interestingly enough, during this broadcast, they mentioned something Brazilian, or the only thing that I've heard Cuba and Brazil mention, this carnival. But that does not seem French or Creole, nor Haitian. It seems Hispanic of some sort, Hispanico. So one person explains what Juve means to him. There's the dictionary version of what it means. And then somebody else mispronounces it while she's there celebrating, saying it's Carnival.
The West Indian Day Parade returns in full force for the first time since the start of the pandemic.
Look, we didn't have one in a long time.
Yeah.
So, right now, I want everybody to come out. If you're visiting Brooklyn, if you live in Brooklyn, come out and have a nice time. It is nice out here.
Yes.
You got every culture out here who want to enjoy life.
Like he said about the culture celebrating life, everybody taking a day off and just dance, eat, and enjoy each other.
The Juve festivities began at 6 a.m. along Flatbush Avenue from Grand Army Plaza. The parade kicked off about an hour ago. The Lions Club marching today, leading the festivities and setting the pace for the day.
The food, the music, the ambience.
The NYPD says security for the event is tight. The entire parade route is a barricaded frozen zone. The event has been marred by violence in the past, but not this year. The mayor this morning speaking at a West Indian Day breakfast ahead of the parade.
Not one shooting last night in Juve. Not one.
Well, Charlene, I'm going to jump off this live shot, get some jerk chicken, dance it off, and be back at 5 with a full wrap-up of today's festivities. Reporting live in Brooklyn, Stefan Kim, Channel 7, Eyewitness News.
Had me a jerk chicken. Enjoy. I'm jealous. Well, new at noon, a federal monitor has told the city to keep all documents related to the investigation into dangerous levels of arsenic in the tap water at a NYCHA complex in the East Village. All through the holiday weekend, thousands of tenants at the Jacob Reese houses were forced to use portable water stations after being told not to drink or cook with the water from their taps. Today, residents are flushing out their faucets as testing continues. NYCHA started testing the water a few weeks ago following reports of cloudy water on Friday. Test results revealed traces of arsenic. Yesterday, a test didn't find elevated levels, but the testing will continue.
It had like a brownish tinge, like in the morning, but it would go away.
We have similar events in Queens. At times, it's worse than others. I don't know why, don't know what it is. There's no like home test kit that I'm aware of. On here, it says something about NYCHA. I can look into that, but again, this is like news to me. So, but it is already in the city. I mean, and sometimes in Bayside, when I walk by the city grates, there's this vapor that comes up, and it smells like rotten eggs. I don't smell it all the time, but as it disperses into the air, again, I don't know if what kind of toxin that is, and if it's detrimental to the health and safety of the residents. I'm unclear. There's no way for me to know. I don't have barometer testing. I don't have air quality tests for. I asked the fire department to come. They came with whatever equipment they have, and the alarms went off about whatever was emanating from that particular grate on the city street. But more than that, I did not get a follow up. He just said that it went off, and then he tried to peddle some non important excuse and what excusing themselves and going on to whatever else they go on to.
The smell, but in honesty, I thought I was crazy.
It kind of feels like we're kind of regressing as a culture, as the advancement of civilization.
The city says there is no evidence the arsenic levels are connected to the cloudy water. Well, it was a violent night in.
Now, what's interesting is I spent this morning at the French workshop with Lewis and walking the boulevard. We started with one of the community residents and having a conversation. He's an older gentleman from a different community. And Lewis and he, we sat on lawn chairs on the front lawn, and we were speaking about children my son's age. And Lewis and this gentleman occupied the conversation. The gentleman has more experience than Lewis since he was in the field. They asked for what my feelings were as I went to voice my concerns for my son with lack of performing arts, lack of arts, and lack of direction and purposeful tracks of education, like testing for the children to see what they may be good at, what their strong points are, and then gearing and guiding the children into some city facility or school that might be best suited for their talents. That's what I wanted to say. But the conversation was commandeered. I was shut down before I could even get words out. And the two of them started arguing about other people's children. And my son, again, gets unacknowledged. They're so busy having this heated conversation about Black and brown children and what's going on for inner city kids. And how do you think we should address it? And I'm sitting here and I'm like, excuse me. There's a lot of people who argue those facts regularly. I have a separate concern. Can I address that? And then they're like, wait, just 1 minute. And I sat and I waited patiently while these two have this buffoon conversation. And I'm like, and then they're yelling at me that I should have more active participation in like this parent-teacher way. And I'm like, excuse me. I was like, I didn't see, my parents were not, like, there were a lot of doctors, lawyers, and highly educated people in Lloyd Harbor. We were in Cold Spring Harbor. My parents were the high school educated that moved in and were trying to have a better life for me and learn and help get guidance to where I should go and like protect me, put me on a protected path. It only got so far and then it never happened. Like, my parents did not guide me into the track that I needed to go into. It never came to fruition. And then when there were children forced upon me, there was no educated like integrated help to again test the children and get them into things that they would be good at and where they are needed for the health of the state, the health of the country, for the health of themselves, if they need to be part of something globally, if they have relatives elsewhere that think that they can be like good like servants rather than slave labor. These things are important. What I don't understand is how I was so missed and have no handhold in getting myself on the right direction, and then forcibly having to have children, and but still no active, I mean, I it was deficient for my parents, it was deficient for myself, and now it's a third generation in my children of high risk that they're going to be left behind or they're going to be hurt in some way. I have NEG. Like there's a star. I have a star king, a king star. There's king consort somewhere. There's the great beyond and the king's guard. Why do I not even know how to recognize these figures or how to reach out and ask for help? Why do they not know to come or not have any, like, I mean, where is there a blockage? That's where I'm really confused. But then to lean on Lewis, my elder, it doesn't help me. He's so plugged in helping inner city kids get through some argument that he totally disregards his own grandson, who at this point is in a deeper crevasse than I was in because he's male. I mean, and I don't know how to guide him besides the fact that I'm being hit with health issues on top of all this other stuff. Is it arsenic in the water? I don't know. How do you test for that? It's happening in other places in the city. There's been polio in the water. There's been all sorts of things that there's some federal standard or there's some state standard, but how do you even get involved in protecting yourself and being part of a solution rather than, I mean, this is where I've been whatever delivered, and then needing and wanting participation, being brought into college educated community. But once elementary school ended, it was just like, and even during elementary school, there was in a bird cage is really where I was. And I don't know why. I don't know what it means. I don't know what the humans have made it to mean, because of course there are some that just make something out of nothing and they invent the history. I need that history to be spun in the proper direction. I then looked at Lord of the Rings, or no, The Hobbit was on, and they have this silver elven with these ears, and I'm like, again, it looks very derogatory if you're speaking like high elf. But here we are at not where I thought this would end up, but things being what they are and needing to report as I must for fear of getting hurt even further. So we finished our conversation. I never got to even say what I wanted to say, other than I said what is odd is that it's September 5th. My son starts school on September 8th. There was no letter home for the supplies that one needs to bring to school. There was no teacher assignment. There's no classroom assignment. I have no idea where my kid is going. Their schools are not open today, so I have to wait till tomorrow to then try to ask, but it's 2 days before school even begins. I mean, something's wrong. Something's seriously wrong. So we went to this French workshop, which is that's the name of it on the building, but it's just like a cafe, not the piazza, but just a cafe. And Lewis ate. I just had a cup of coffee with oat milk. And then we walked, and as we walked home, we walked past one of the stores. Now, my grandfather used to have the saying, peachy poachy and spicy spicy. And I'm like, and I'm looking, Lewis sees on this new restaurant that opened up, it says medicated pork. I'm like, that is such an interesting use of words to describe food. And so he went in to ask what that was about. I mean, they said it was healthy. And as I was inside, I looked up on the board and it said species spicy. And I'm like, now that is interesting because I believe that the restaurant's Korean. I'm thinking that's what it is. And I'm like, species spicy. I was like, that's something my grandfather used to say. So I thought that that was very interesting. That sat with me very innocently enough. And then we continued our walk home. Lewis stopped to do a magic trick for one of the residents on the street who was having an outdoor dining experience. I was like, Lewis, I can't take you anywhere. And I said, he's magic. That's his magic trick. He's a wizard. What can I say? And they laughed. We walked on. But while we were in the cafe, he was telling me about this book that he wrote. He read me some of his poetry. And it was interesting. I'm like, one poem at a time. So I can fully digest what it means. But that's how we spent Labor Day together. So it's star 1978, star 8378. Nicole, Cattaruzza, it's Earth, Solar System, Milky Way Universe. Galaxy is broken for me. I also had this really weird conversation yesterday from Kentucky. I don't get phone calls. So when they come in, I'm assuming they're important. And then it went really weird. And I said, I'm disengaging because this seems very inappropriate. And I did. And that was the end.